from Bellows Free Academy in St. Albans, Vermont. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special midweek presentation of boys varsity basketball on Northwest Access TV. Alongside Bryce Batchelder, I'm Wesley Kempton for tonight's broadcast of the Bobwhites against the Raiders. That's right, BFA hosting U32 in a matchup of two teams who come in with 2 wins and a single loss. We'll see who's going to drop to 500 and who's going to have a very impressive 3-1 start to this altered 2021 winter sports season. Bryce, you were here just a few days ago for BFA's season opener, and it was not the jump out of the gate that they hoped for this season, but they have rebounded quite well with a couple of road victories. And what are your expectations for them this evening?
Well, I mean, I think Milton was just a rough matchup for them, and Milton is a very, very good team who's going to make some noise in D2. Hopefully this matchup will be a little bit better. Been doing a good job of scoring for them. Charlie Yates, of course, really helps run their offense. Noah Earl has been the sophomore that everyone is keeping their eye on. So I'm excited for a rejuvenated BFA Bobwhites team here that have rebounded very well from their first loss against Milton.
Well, a bit of a scrum in the early going as the opening tip went down on the ground. After the fight for it, it was U32 who, missing on their first shot attempt, will find themselves backpedaling on defense as the Bobwhites set up their first offensive set. For BFA, their first offensive set is going to be interrupted on a steal and fast break lay-in by Aiden Hawkins, a senior guard for the Raiders.
Aiden Hawkins just anticipating that pass so well. Was moving even before the ball left the passer's hands.
And another steal for the Raiders. 2 turnovers in less than 45 seconds to start this contest for BFA. Obviously, Bryce, it's still very, very early, but you wonder if young players are sort of more susceptible at times to get rattled like this, and you'll hope that BFA is able to use defense to turn it around here.
Well, I mean, this was the case against Milton when Milton's defense just really gave BFA fits. They weren't able to get into their offensive set, as sort of what we're seeing here against U32. U32 coming out really strong defensively, forcing turnovers, really holding their ground defensively. BFA hasn't quite been able to get into their rhythm. Hopefully that can change a little bit. I think the way to beat that, BFA has to really strengthen their defense here and force some turnovers and try to get some points in transition.
And it's going to be a foul on BFA's Charlie Yates. Yates, one of those names that we became so familiar with last season. Amazing that he's just a junior. And to the line for U32 is Owen Kellington. Makes it a 3-0 contest. Kellington, good stroke, hits them both. Bobwhites still looking for their first points of the contest. Thomas DeMar takes it across the timeline. Charging in, and a lot of contact, no foul, but an offensive board kicked out of bounds, and we'll see the Bobwhites from the corner.
Well, I think DeMar, as he was going up with it, I think a U32 hand got in there, and he started bobbling the ball, which is why a lot of that contact wasn't called. It was sort of a loose ball a little bit at that point.
DeMar back up top. Going down low, the Bobwhites trying to establish their inside game, but another turnover. That's 4 already for the green and gold.
So they're getting Ballard where they want him on the lower block. Credit to U32's defense, making Ballard change his pivot foot a couple times. Ballard's trying to get his post move going, not quite getting the position.
U32 having already made a substitution. Hawkins, a quick skip pass over to Owen Kellington, whose long ball effort no good. Ballard doing a good job of assertively grabbing that pass and keeping it in BFA possession. Inside Yates fighting for anything, gets the shot off and a foul. He'll go to the line.
Yeah, and that's what BFA needs to do right now. They just need to attack the basket, try to get something going here. A really good read by Charlie Yates. He saw an open lane and he took it and was able to draw the foul.
First free throw up and good for Yates. The first point of the night for the Bobwhites. Second one up, in and out, and Ballard fighting for the rebound. Looked like it went off of a U32 foot. Indeed, it did. So it'll stay at the BFA end. Credit to Ballard for fighting for that rebound. Defensive rebound for U32 now as they set up their offense. Aiden Hawkins, the facilitator for the Raiders, working it around up top. This is Noah McLean, number 20, and a pass over to Elvin Stoll, whose long ball is picked up off the bounce.
Didn't make the shot, but that was a really nice pass.
DeMar didn't have much, finds Ballard up top, thought about it, driving in, and there again, the ball was knocked free before there was any sort of foul, and therefore it was just a loose ball and not a foul.
Yeah, I may have called that one a jump ball instead, but still, I think it was the right call, not calling a foul.
3 minutes played in this opening quarter. And it's a 3-point early lead for Union 32. Good pass inside and a good cut from the Raiders. Owen Kellington again is going to find himself back at the line where a moment ago he hit a pair.
Yep. Aiden Hawkins just sitting there in the corner outside the three-point line. And Kellington made the perfect read. Cut down the middle.
A very confident stroke at the line for Kellington. And a substitution for the Bobwhites as Jake Reynolds, senior forward, number 44, has checked in. First free throw miss for Kellington. DeMar brings it across the other way. Nice sense of urgency and a good assertive play from Peter Jolly, the senior guard, to go in and stop the clock. We've seen it now twice, two experienced players wisely, as the Bobwhites not yet able to really get much of their offense going, just go in and force the issue. Yates did it a moment ago to get to the line, and now Jolly.
Yep, absolutely. We're seeing,
back iron on the first.
They're trying to establish Case Ballard in the post, and U32's been really good defensively on him. He hasn't quite gotten the moves that he's wanted to, and so we have a couple of the senior guards understanding the situation here and needing to get their team going, and so they are just looking for any type of penetration they can get.
Unfortunately for Jolly, rims out on both of them, and how about that play? Up and down and spinning it in for U32. That was Anthony Engelhard. A highlight reel play. Great finish around the rim. 7-1, U32 is up, and charging in, Yates is again going to stop the clock as he draws a foul and will find himself at the line.
So that so far is working for BFA. Now they need to take advantage and make their free throws here.
They're just 1 of 4 in the early going. And Yates, a little too much on that first one. Down in the low block for BFA, number 52. You see Justin Brown, who checked in a moment ago, as Yates gets his second point of the night, his second free throw. Earl guarding the ball, driving in, and a pass to the corner. Good ball movement from U32. Hawkins had a second, decided to go towards the corner. Earl had the rebound poked out from behind, and it is grabbed by Peter Jolly. We'll go over to Yates, and Yates thought he was going to pass to Earl and brought that second hand up. Another turnover for BFA. A half dozen of them through the first 4 minutes of this first quarter, and a well-taken timeout by Matt Toof, who thankfully his team they're only down by 5 points in the early going, but a pretty sloppy first couple of minutes for BFA.
For sure. It feels like U32 is dominating so far, so you would be surprised that they're only up by 5, which is good news for BFA. BFA, like we've said, has had such a hard time getting into their offensive flow, and when they do, they've been committing these turnovers and shooting themselves in the foot. So, smart plays by their seniors to just drive and try to draw fouls, but they got to try to figure out a way to get around U32's defense. And on the other side, U32 has actually done a good job of understanding how BFA's defense is shifting depending on the pass. We saw the last play, Hawkins had the ball at the three-point line, put up a shot fake, and waited for BFA's defense to shift, and that got Elvin Stoll an open look in the corner.
BFA back on defense in a man set. Brown and now Yates, and Kellington again forces the issue. This time it is an offensive foul. Kellington a little bit over the top there.
I think that's number 2 on him.
It is, in fact, yeah, a little over-aggressive there on the drive from Kellington. And he was certainly disappointed with the call, and he'll probably be sitting out the rest of this quarter as he's got 2 fouls. And as BFA looks to get the offense going again, Earl with a quick head fake, driving in, and no good on the drive. Brown fighting for it, a jump ball. Possession to the Bobwhites. A real credit to Matt Tooff's team that while they are struggling in the early going, they're sticking to their preference to either drive it inside to draw a foul or pass it inside to establish the inside game first. And that's certainly where they're going to have the advantage over a lot of teams this season. They've got some good size.
Yeah, I mean, they've figured out right now what's working to penetrate U32's defense. Now they just have to convert.
Brown spinning around and draws a foul on number 21 of U32. That's Jacob McCoy. And Justin Brown is at the line shooting too. Already 5 team fouls on the Raiders. High arc on that effort from Brown, but just off to the left side. And unfortunately for the green and gold, that's another missed free throw. Not for lack of trying. Off the back iron and fighting for it. Brown's going to come up with it. Give credit there to Jake Reynolds for keeping the play alive as Earl's deep ball hits the strap above the basket, and so that immediately whistles the play dead and gives the ball to the Raiders.
I blame the strap more for that one than
I don't think the ball was going to go in, but nonetheless,
that's a rough location there.
We've already seen BFA force a couple of extended possessions with the offensive glass, and there's a good chance they would have been able to there as well. How about that? Great reach from Jake Reynolds to block Aiden Hawkins. And some substitutions as well as BFA brings in Connor Leach and Colin Jolly.
So credit to BFA's defense. Milton got out to their lead very, very quickly. But really, I mean, the last 3 or 4 minutes, BFA's defense has just clamped down and not given Milton any opportunities.
And how about Jake Reynolds, a block, and then on the inbounds off of the block, he deflects the pass off of a U32 foot and gives the ball back to BFA. That's as good a back-to-back defensive effort from one player as you will see at any level. Brown, guarded by Hawkins. Pass to Reynolds. 42, by the way, is Dakota Rye. He's a junior guard. Brown, for a moment, was double-teamed, trying to go baseline, and a charge is called.
Ooh.
Well taken by Aiden Hawkins. Bryce, I think I know what your thoughts were on that one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. I would have been fine with a no call on that one. Maybe Hawkins had some position. Maybe I think that was more of a sales job a little bit.
For what it's worth, as U32 is called for a travel and a turnover, a real testament to Aiden Hawkins. And not a lot of players in high school have the basketball IQ to acknowledge when you can take that and get the call. Exhibit A, Noah McLean of U32 tried to draw the offensive foul just now and was called for the body foul.
They weren't going to give that call 2 times in a row.
Connor Leach inbounding.
That's actually Noah McLean's second foul, so now U32 has 2 starters in foul trouble.
And speaking of Noah McLean, with 2 fouls, he still came in and got a great block.
Oh, a nice crossover by Hawkins.
And it will be under the basket for U32. Elvin Stoll, number 2, over to Aiden Hawkins. Good head fake as he drives in. Look at that, 3 defenders in the lane and picked up in transition and unfortunately lost. But the call favoring the hometown team.
Good hustle by Colin Jolly to get that ball. U32's coach was calling for his player to come get it, and U32 just wasn't hustling on that one. Colin Jolly picks it up for the Bobwhites.
And right back, Colin Jolly for a moment looked at taking a 3. Brown spinning around, immediately met by 2 defenders. Good hesitation, but he can't get it to finish with the left hand as Hawkins picks it up and comes with a head full of steam. Trying to go baseline. Again, great help defense from the Bobwhites. They had 2 to meet him on the baseline. And here's a rebound and some momentum. And a bit of a lost opportunity in the second effort. No good as well. Dakota Rye had the follow-up.
Yeah, look, I know you want to penetrate, and that's been working here against U32, but you still have to get a good shot up, and that was sort of a wild one. I think it would have been better to try to find an open player on the outside and pass it out.
Quick head fake from Engelhard. Back outside to Noah McLean. Gets his way past a couple of defenders. Under a minute now in this first quarter. A very low-scoring first quarter, at least so far. U32 is going to go back to the line. Both teams haven't converted as many free throws as they'd prefer.
You know, in what we thought was going to be a game that U32 might run away with in just the first couple minutes here, has really turned into a defensive battle. BFA still does not have a field goal. Their 2 points have been on 2 free throws.
From two separate
trips, yep.
Foul going to be on Connor Leach. His first, already 5 team fouls for the Bobwhites. And Anthony Engelhard goes to the line where he swishes the first. And Noah McLean now going to go and avoid picking up a 3rd foul in the last few seconds. Number 20 for U32 is Jacob Fair, a junior center. Big number 33 for the visitors checks in.
And those free throws might have been the first points in this game in the last 4 minutes or so.
And there was some great momentum from Justin Brown, but he started to go before he started to dribble. Another turnover for BFA. We'll see if U32 tries to stretch this out for one final shot. Hawkins trying to hide in the corner. Tremendous defense from Pigeon guarding the ball. Hawkins loses it, but it was tipped. And so he'll be inbounding as well.
So that defense between Pigeon and Jolly, Jolly did a good job of sort of showing on that screen. When Pigeon was getting screened by Jolly's man, Jolly still kind of covered Pigeon's guy. You don't actually see that a whole lot in high school basketball. Very smart defensively.
The pass to Hawkins went off of his foot, and so the Bobwhites get it back for the final 10 seconds of this first quarter. Inbounds to the junior forward, Justin Brown. Brown, a tremendously versatile young player, as Hawkins, two-hand stuffing that pass. Not a lot of options here for BFA. They're under their own basket with 3 seconds to play in this quarter. Quick flick up top. Ballard looking for options. And they don't have enough time. A heave, no good.
Yeah.
So after one quarter, it is a very strong lead for U32, but not a lot of offense for either team. Bryce, you said it. No field goals for BFA in the opening quarter. And the 2 free throws came from 2 different trips to the line, where BFA was, you can verify this, 2 for 8, I think, at the line in that first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it was not great. It was not great. I mean, but I guess the good news here for BFA, I know they're down 9-2. If you take out the first 2 minutes of that first quarter, they'd really only be trailing by maybe 2 points. Most of Milton's points came from those first couple minutes before BFA had sort of figured out how to get through U32's defense. And U32 was picking off BFA's passes, just anticipating everything BFA was going to do offensively. But since then, BFA clamped down defensively. They've been much better about their offense. They figured out that instead of trying to pass the ball around too much on the outside, that they need to just penetrate through U32 seams. They've been getting plenty of foul calls. Both teams with lots of team fouls here in that first quarter. We're going to see a lot more free throws, I think, in the second quarter. But they're just, neither team is particularly taking advantage of the fouls right now.
It's worth noting that in the aftermath of that opening defeat to Milton, in which the Bobwhites scored just 37 points, since then they've been averaging 59 points per game over the subsequent 2 victories. U32, meanwhile, also a better offensive team than this first quarter would suggest, as Brown does a quick pass back, and there's our first field goal of the contest, a 3-pointer from BFA's Connor Leach.
That's one of the first open threes that BFA has gotten all game, and it came off of penetration. Justin Brown getting into the middle, collapsing Milton's defense, and kicking it out to an open Connor Leach.
On the other end, however, Brown called for the foul, had a hard time staying in front of Aiden Hawkins, and that's 2 personal fouls on Brown. Out of precaution, they're sitting him down. To conclude the point I was making a moment ago, U32 offensively much better on the season than they have shown through that first quarter. They're averaging about 56 points per game through their first 3 contests, of which they've won 2 and lost just the 1. Amazing how much can change with a simple 3-pointer, as it's now a 9-5 contest, and both teams seem to be working a little bit faster now. BFA, to their credit, had slowed the game to a crawl.
But, look at how U32 is setting up their offense here. They don't have anybody in the post. They're just leaving the lane wide open for folks to try to cut, but they weren't really cutting quickly or effectively. Their coach was yelling for them to get more cuts going. But clearly U32 is just trying to open up the lane, trying to get some 3-pointers, but also, they might not have great post players, so they're just looking to try to penetrate. And when they can penetrate from the outside, hopefully there's no BFA defender there.
Anthony Engelhard connects on the front end of a 1-and-1. The foul was on BFA's Tyson Pigeon, his first, and BFA the first team to have reached the bonus. That was their 7th team foul, as Engelhard connects on the second free throw as well. In transition, Earl with great heads up to pass over towards Connor Leach, who missed on both efforts. Testament to him for following the shot. And here come the Raiders the other way. Noah Earl with a block, as Hawkins wisely picking up the dribble, almost got away with the travel there. And on the other end of the spectrum, Kellington does not get away with the travel there. A turnover for the Raiders. Sends the ball back BFA's way.
So Hawkins had a great pass down low when he did cut down there with the ball. But Noah Earl with just really nice kind of recovery defense getting that block.
Yates with a quick head fake. 3 defenders are waiting for him as Earl goes outside to Ballard. A nice set jump shot falls. That's 2 good passes in a row from Earl. One should have been an assist, the other was. and it's back to just a 4-point ball game. Good defense from Yates, forcing the issue as the ball deflected out of bounds by him. Kellington inbounding right in front of the BFA bench. Engelhard over to Patrick Chaffee. He's number 11 for U32. How about that on-ball defense from Noah Earl? And remember, he is just a sophomore. And that was a clear out. Engelhard did not get away with that one. Extended the elbow a little bit, and you're not going to get away with that one.
Yeah, that's as blatant as can be, throwing out the elbow. And with those types of offensive fouls, extending the elbow, defensive player doesn't actually have to be set and still. If you see that elbow go out from the offensive player to push off.
Earl again trying to facilitate the offense with a good feed, but was blocked out. And here we come under the Bobwhite basket. The inbounder is going to be Connor Leach. Out of a stack, they go to Ballard. Ballard crosses over to Pigeon. Pigeon back to his left. Finds Leach. And now Earl. Thought about a good head fake from Earl. Had a little bit of space, and from the elbow, in and out. And how about that rebound? Ripped out of the air by Pigeon. But a skip pass from Earl finds its way to the U32 bench. And how about Dan Gauthier, the coach of the Raiders, just doing a good job on the receiving end of that pass.
Well, we can see the adjustment that U32 has made in their defense. They know that BFA is trying to cut through the lane, and so they're really trying to clog that lane to prevent any type of open looks.
Pigeon thought he was set to take a charge, but it is a block. We've seen more sort of toss-up charge or block fouls through the first quarter and a half of this contest than certainly you had seen in the entire Milton contest, and unusual for that many contested plays in a high school game.
And I feel bad for the refs on having this many sort of
the judgment calls.
What are those calls that they have to make that one coach is going to be super happy, the other not so much? Luckily, there are no fans this year that get on them about this call. About those calls, it's I guess one of the advantages of the pandemic for them.
I did remark to a friend of mine that this is the best season to be a new referee.
It's true, 100%.
And
if you saw
if you're at home and you feel targeted by that remark, you should. And good stick-to-itiveness from Charlie Yates to try to get the ball back. The Raiders are able to come up with it. And a player control foul. Pigeon is, in fact, able to take the charge there. So going with another one. We'll continue the conversation then about it. A charge versus a block, you have to call it. There have been several sort of collisions where the whistle has to be blown. And, as you said, on all of those sort of judgment toss-up calls, one coach is going to be upset, the other is going to be ecstatic. So far, it's been quite fairly called.
Well,
evenly
I think
called
they're sort
both
of
ways.
Alternating the judgment calls here so that they're not trying to favor one or the other.
And Noah Earl connects on an and one. All of a sudden, BFA starting to get that offense clicking. They had 2 points, fought for 2 points through the first 8 minutes, and they've got 7 points in 3.5 minutes of this second quarter. Earl's going to try to put them at 10 on the night.
I think BFA is outscoring U32 7-2 in this second quarter.
And he hits the free throw.
And one note, a couple plays ago, Engelhard got his second personal foul. He's U32's leading scorer with 6 points, so pretty big to have him on the bench.
Hawkins with a good feed inside as McLean connects on an uncontested lay-in for the Raiders. Earl coming the other way and had it poked out by Kellington. The difference through the first couple of minutes of this second quarter for the Bobwhites really, in my eyes, has been Noah Earl. He has been a tremendous passer and had those 3 points last possession. Nearing that 5-second expiration, they were able to get it in. And up top now, Pigeon. 34 is DeMar. They go to Earl, who is guarded by Hawkins, calling for the relocation of Yates. Up top. And it's going to be a foul down low, a defensive push-off by Aiden Hawkins. His second team foul, and Yates is going to go to the line.
And
Hawkins
had the last two U32 fouls. Although he's not their leading scorer, he's really been driving a lot of their offensive sets here. So if he's going to take the bench, we'll have a main playmaker and U32's leading scorer. Although it looks like Hawkins might stay out there for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Coach Gauthier of U32 considered taking him out even for a moment. Yates went 1 of 2 at the line. It's 13-11 favoring the visitors. Hawkins driving in with a good screen behind him and kicks outside. A three-pointer is good. Hawkins the assist. Patrick Chaffee the three-pointer as the Bobwhites bring it right back the other way. Brown in the baseline, spinning around and pulls up with that left hand a bit off on the jumper. Hawkins again kicking outside to Chaffee. Kellington slowed it down and after thinking about it, decides to pull up and drills it. Back-to-back three-pointers for the Raiders. Put them up by 8 points now.
We were just talking about how the Bobwhites had really figured things out offensively and caught back into this game, and, well, here we are.
Hawkins, an ambitious one-handed pass all the way up, and McLean able to stay in the air longer than the two defenders. He finishes, and the Raiders have a 10-point lead. 8 quick points over the course of 3 possessions, and U32 has some great momentum, and you can feel it as they jump on the court to greet their teammates in this timeout.
We'll give you some scoring leaders here for the game so far. U32, pouring in a whole bunch of points, as you just said, Wesley, in a short period of time. But Anthony Engelhardt and Owen Kellington leading all scorers with 6 points. Noah McLean chipping in 4, but also with 3 rebounds. And for the Bobwhites, their scoring is pretty spread out here. Noah Earl, Charlie Yates, Connor Leach each have 3. Case Ballard with 2.
Well, it's interesting for the Bobwhites, who struggled through that first quarter. They got their first field goal in the second quarter, and remember, it was a three-pointer. And at the time, I commented how a three-pointer can change things so much, that you hit 1-3 and it can change things. Well, it goes both ways. The Bobwhites had got it down to a 1-point game on Earl's free throw, and right away, U32 comes back and a couple of three-pointers and then a transition lay-in. They find themselves up 21-11. We'll see what Matt Troop's team's able to do for the final 2:46 of this second quarter after this timeout. One notable change is that Noah Earl is the ball handler who set things up. Yates over to Brown. Brown driving in. Stops short of the block, and as it bounces around, it's picked up by McLean. They're fighting for it a little bit too earnestly as Yates is called for the foul, and it's going to send Kellington to the line, shooting 2 with a chance to make it a 12-point advantage. It was Yates' second foul, and apologies, not Kellington at the line. It is McLean, and he's shooting just 1 and 1.
And that was McLean's 4th rebound. So he's getting it done on the boards for U32.
Bit too much on that first one. Fighting for it, it goes on the ground where it is picked up by DeMar, who turns the corner and tries to get a lay on the other side. Brown, a nice juke fake, in and out the 3. Rebound to the Raiders. Hawkins on the right side has momentum, but good defense from the Bobwhites to stop his charge.
Oh, nice pass.
An amazing underhanded bullet pass to the corner where another three-pointer falls, this time from Cameron Comstock. It is a 13-point lead now for U32 as Earl drives in and cannot get it to fall, but gets his own rebound, finds some space, and amazingly, Earl puts that back.
I mean, he was behind the basket when he put that one back. But
He had 3 defenders around him.
Oh, yeah. But what we see, I mean, U32 has figured out how BFA's defense is shifting. And so they're charging into the lane here, watching BFA's defense collapse on them and kicking it out for open three-pointers.
But again, the player who's keeping the Bobwhites alive, Noah Earl, a lay-in a moment ago, a steal and an assist just now. It's back to a 9-point contest. Still a big deficit for the home team, but they continue to chip away. Kellington, a floater inside the paint, will fall. Real slurry of points over the last couple of minutes of this second quarter for U32. 26-15, Earl inside, tries to scoop around and finish with the left hand, unable. As the Raiders get it back, Brown tries to poke it free, and sagely, here comes Hawkins. Kicking outside, and a player control foul. That will be his 3rd. 2 of Hawkins' fouls have been offensive. He had really had a good string of drives and dishes. But amazingly, with him picking up 3 fouls, there's still, at least for the moment, there was no immediate urgency to substitute. I think Gauthier just realized that it was his 3rd. And so the Raiders check in Anthony Conchesi, a junior guard. He's number 44, who's guarding the ball handler now.
Well, that was a tough one because I think Hawkins also got hit in the face a little bit on that drive. But defender was straight up. So, I think the refs made the right call.
DeMar's jumper was off the front iron. That seemed like thought he had dribbled already. I was alone in that suspicion, I suppose. Inside and fighting for the ball. No whistle. And a foul is going to send McLean back to the line.
I think that probably should have been a 3 seconds, Wes.
I think, to be fair, U32 might have lost possession for a moment there. Let's suppose it reset at that time. McLean connects on the first. It's a 12-point Raider lead. Brown and DeMar in the low blocks for the Bobwhites. Inbound. They go to Peter Jolly. Jolly over to Connor Leach. Up top to DeMar. Leach, a 3-pointer. And it's good! A great shot for the Bobwhites. And their halftime deficit now just 10 points after they connect on that 3. As bad as it ended up being, it could have been a heck of a lot worse. 16 points in that second quarter for the Bobwhites, but 19 points in that second quarter for the Raiders. And after 16 minutes of play, really not quite sure. This game hasn't really had an identity. It has been very choppy.
Yeah.
And the few times we've seen a little bit of momentum from the Bobwhites, we've seen a lot of momentum from the Raiders. As it is, it's really hard for me to think about what we can expect as we look at the second half of play.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basketball is a game of runs, right? It sort of depends on when your run happens and how big that run is going to be. And in this game's case, there have been a few distinct runs for each team, and then in between, just pretty stellar defensive battles. Like, there hasn't been consistent offense all the way through. BFA made a great run the first couple minutes of this second quarter, but U32, I mean, really dominating the second half here of the second quarter. We'll give you some stats going into halftime here. For U32, Owen Kellington, high score in the game so far with 8 points. Anthony Engelhard and Noah McLean each have 6. McLean also has 6 rebounds, and the majority of those actually coming in the last couple minutes of that second quarter. For the Bobwhites, Connor Leach leads them with 6 points, and Noah Earl has 5. So, we'll have to wait to see what kind of adjustments BFA can make here at halftime. just seemed like U32 sort of figured out how BFA's defense was shifting, and they'd really exploited how BFA was collapsing on them in the lane, kicking it out for some open three-pointers that drastically changed
and
this game.
You had keyed in on it, how well they were spacing all around
Yep.
and trying to force something. As it was, they weren't having people cut through the lane. They were having somebody drive through and then
Yep.
just kick it out. And so obviously when it works really well.
Absolutely. And U32, I mean, for the majority of the second quarter, they didn't set anybody up in the post. They had 5 guys around the three-point line, and they would have one guy coming up and trying to set a high post screen around the free throw line. We had another guy just sort of quickly coming down and flashing through the lane, and if that pass isn't there, it's not there, and they just keep moving and sort of attacking some of BFA's seams, which, you know, I think we didn't see a whole lot of like Case Ballard or Jake Reynolds for BFA in that second quarter, and part of it, they're post players, and I think this is a bit of a tough matchup for them, just the way U32 was playing, that they're not setting up anyone in the post, and it would really bring Case Ballard out a lot. And so that's a little tough. I mean, on the other hand, you know, maybe they could get Case Ballard set up in the post offensively and try to take advantage, but U32 has done a good job of helping down in the lane as well, sort of seeing how BFA has been attacking the lane.
Well, you saw in the first quarter when BFA was controlling the pace, even though they weren't getting any offense to go, they were able to keep it under control,
Yep.
holding U32 to just 9 first quarter points. Certainly that would be the silver lining for them in a quarter in which they had no field goals and only had 2 points. But in the second quarter, they really sort of lost that control. The defense wasn't able to control the pace as much, and you look at what happened, the runs that U32 were able to put together.
Well, and I think there was a moment where BFA didn't really have a ton of their playmakers on the floor, a little stretch that sort of started U32's run. I mean, Justin Brown coming off the bench, he doesn't have any points, but he's been a catalyst on the offense, attacking U32 seams and sort of kicking out to some open players. He was on the bench for a bit. Noah Earl was on the bench, Case Ballard, Charlie Yates, and so I think there's a credit to Coach Chu for sort of recognizing that and getting Noah Earl back in the game, and he made a big difference. And but sort of that period where BFA didn't really have a dynamic playmaker who could attack U32 on offense, that's when U32's run started, and BFA sort of paid for it.
At this point, we would like to recognize the sponsors for today's game: Northwestern Orthopedics, Collins Purley Sports Complex, JC Image, Handy Toyota, Barrett Ford, and Clarity Realty with Keller Williams, Vermont. If your business would like to become a sports sponsor, you can contact the staff at Northwest Access TV. That's 802-782-8676. Once again, 802-782-8676. And our thanks to all of those sponsors. We also, as always, have a Showtime Player of the Game T-shirt to give out to the player of the game at the end of this contest. Through the first 16 minutes, it's hard to say who the leader in that clubhouse would be. It's on your left side there, Bryce, that bright orange. How can you miss it? It's a bright orange T-shirt, but through the first 16 minutes, hard to say who that shirt would go to, and hopefully the decision-making process becomes much easier in the second half. There's 4 minutes until that second half begins, and we'll take a quick break here, and we'll hope that you'll be sticking around as the Bobwhites will try to come back from this 10-point deficit. It's 28-18, and the third quarter coming up next. Welcome back to second half coverage of U32 at BFA. It is Franklin County Varsity Boys Basketball on Northwest Access TV. Alongside Bryce Batchelder, I'm Wesley Kempton, and through the first half of play, we didn't really get a clear picture of what to expect in the second half of action. BFA through the first quarter had just 2 points from 2 free throws. In the second quarter, they bounced back tremendously, 16 points, and started to get the offense going a bit. However, their defense let up a little bit in that second quarter as well, allowing U32 to charge to a 10-point halftime lead. So as we get set for the third quarter, possession will be for the home team. And we'll see what the second half will bring.
Yep, I mean, I think BFA was able to pull the game within 2 points. And then
they got it to within one.
Within one. And then, like you said, U32 just went on a tear to make it that 10-point game.
Well, and you take away the three-pointer that the Bobwhites connected on just as the second quarter expired, and U32 had gone on a 17-5 run to close out the quarter. So that three-pointer was huge, and here comes Earl trying to go to Ballard.
It's a good idea.
Ballard wasn't ready for it, and it's a turnover. So the third quarter beginning similar to how the first quarter did, where the Bobwhites had so many turnovers to start the game. On defense now. Good urgency from Yates to jump out, guarding the ball, and Jolly guarding Hawkins. Hawkins fired anyway. DeMar inside. Thought about it, tried to feed it to Ballard.
Just a second too late.
And Hawkins steals, coming up, and in transition misses it. Yates somehow able to hold on to the rebound, fighting for it, but he rolls around, and that's going to be a travel. Hawkins inbounding for the Raiders of U32. Yates guarding the ball. Kellington has it. Behind the three line, pulls up, and no good as Earl gets the long rebound. A foot race between Hawkins and Earl, and what a pass! But again, just ahead of Ballard. Good vision, but unfortunately a mismatch. The players are on different pages there, and so it's the third turnover of this third quarter for BFA.
So the score's a little deceptive. This has sort of been what the majority of this game has been. Neither team playing all that cleanly. There have just been very specific sort of stretches that teams have kind of exploded for points, and then it's been very quiet again.
Peter Jolly whistled for the foul, his first, and in fact the first foul of anyone in the second half. Jolly guarding the inbounds as BFA remains in a man set. We haven't seen either team play much zone this evening as Earl
by Yates
comes up with it, trying to feed it inside. DeMar wisely kicking it outside. As, how about that? Yates just found himself about to lose a battle to gravity, flicked it up at the last second, and there's the first basket for either team of this third quarter. Hawkins, again, guarded by Jolly. Two long steps as he passes over to McLean inside, trying to go with the left hand. And Noah McLean, this is a familiar story, will go to the line. The foul was on Case Ballard, his first. McLean sinks the first one. And in and out the second as the rebound grabbed by an assertive Charlie Yates. Yates up to DeMar. DeMar hesitated for a second, had it poked away, somehow got it back as he goes outside to Yates, driving inside through four defenders and is able to bank that one in.
Charlie Yates was the one in the first half that sort of initially figured out for BFA that you just have to attack U32's interior and you'll at least get some looks. So he's going right back to that.
And he's got twice as many points in the third quarter as he had in that first quarter.
Absolutely.
Incidentally, so do the Bobwhites. We find themselves trailing by 7. A corner three effort, a bit too strong as Kellington, the loose ball rebound, and no foul as he is able to float that one in.
Kellington, the first player of either team in double digits now. He has 10.
DeMar, the screen from Yates, setting up the offense. Back to the left side he goes. Up top, Jolly has some space, but instead goes to Earl, who backs his way in with the left hand. He finishes. Great finish from Noah Earl. And immediately back on ball defense. McLean over to his left and up top to Kellington. Kellington cuts back right, loses his footing, does not lose the ball as Yates charges in and Gauthier calls a timeout. Kellington went down and is grabbing his face.
Yeah, Yates got him in the face as Yates was trying to go for the ball. But U32's coach had already called the timeout before the rest could call Yates for a foul.
Kellington looks a bit distressed, as you can understand why. So perhaps Gauthier, the coach of U32, bailed out Charlie Yates a little bit, who had really urgently gone after the still player.
Yep, and Yates was upset when he got up from that ball. I think they thought they had called the foul on him, to the point the ref had to tell him to calm down. So props to the ref there for not having a quick technical whistle and giving the players a chance to sort of cool it for a minute. But you know, on some of these BFA offensive possessions, U32 have 4 of their defenders all in the lane. They know where BFA is trying to get. BFA, I think, at one point had 3 guys around the three-point line. Only one of them was being closely guarded by a U32 player. So they are concentrating all of their defense on the lane.
And Kellington went straight at Yates. Yates called for the block. And that's the 3rd foul on Yates as well. We'll see if Toof will risk letting him pick up his 4th, as Kellington's going to bring it right back to Yates. That's going to be a matchup to watch the rest of this game, as Hawkins, on the assist from Kellington, gets a corner 3, and U32 back on top by 10. Yates charging in, hangs in the air, and that one off the back iron. Yates trying to fight for it, being advised by his teammates on the bench to cool it a little bit.
He brings the energy, that's for sure.
Here's another corner 3 for U32, and another one falls. A familiar story, U32 back-to-back three-pointers. Cameron Comstock gives them a 13-point lead as Earl had it poked free but fouled. A call that has deflated the entire U32 side. They thought they were going to get a breakaway. Instead, it is the 3rd personal foul on Anthony Engelhard.
So I think here's the defensive adjustment that BFA needs to make. They're getting caught too much with a wide-open U32 player around the three-point line on the weak side. They have to help a little bit less on defense, especially on that weak side, so that they're not just leaving open three-pointers.
Brown charging in, can't quite finish with the left hand, pokes the ball free, and a loose ball picked up by BFA's Connor Leach. Brown again has a little bit of space as Kellington trying to not stay too close. Perhaps a travel uncalled there, and inside a good finish for Colin Jolly, the senior forward.
And a good find from Peter Jolly, who had gotten the ball in the paint.
What a save as they flick it over to Hawkins. An amazing play for U32. Almost got a turnover. Instead, they get a three-pointer, and they're up by 14, the largest lead of the night. On the loose ball, it was out by the visitors, so it will be Connor Leach inbounding. Before he does, Patrick Chaffee returning to the contest, number 11, who just came on the scene. Brown. And some miscommunication. Bad time for a turnover for the Bobwhites.
You know, I mean, what we said, the majority of this game has been sort of ugly defensive game for both teams, but then you just kind of get these little minute to 2 minute spurts where one team just starts pouring in points, and that's what we have now for U32.
That's 4 3-pointers in the last 5 possessions for U32. Kellington connects, and it's a 17-point lead for the visitors as an illegal screen now called on Connor Leach.
I think BFA could probably use a timeout pretty soon to try to break this momentum here.
Well, when it rains, it pours, and interestingly, for both teams, that expression is apt right now. BFA is compounding mistakes, whereas U32 is compounding successes. Hawkins with a defender on his hip, called for the foul. That's Tyson Pigeon. Pigeon now in foul trouble. That's his third. 5 team fouls in this quarter for BFA, just 1 for the Raiders.
Pigeon and Charlie Yates both with 3 personal fouls at this point.
And a rare miscue for Hawkins, who turns the ball over. Brown the other way, inside. And the feed down low to Jolly, who can't quite finish. They'll go back inside. The left-hand finish no good from Tyson Pigeon. And the Raiders get the rebound and can calmly cross it and set up. Hawkins is going to pull up.
BFA's thinking finally they missed a 3-pointer.
Brown kicks outside. Back in and almost lost, but Leach able to retain it. Earl skips it over. As Brown goes inside, and a good finish from Colin Jolly. That's a couple of field goals for him this quarter. It's now 43-28. 10 points in the quarter for BFA. Unfortunately, 15 for U32. Kellington kicks outside. A 3-pointer up. No good, but a foul is going to send Cameron Comstock to the line, shooting 3.
And that'll also be number 3 on Justin Brown. Noah McLean for U32 with a solid stat line so far tonight. 7 points, 8 rebounds, and a block.
All in a night's work. In and out, the first one from Comstock. Hawkins is ready to get a breather for the final minute and 7 seconds of this quarter. Second free throw good. For the Bobwhites, a couple of subs coming in. Dakota Rye, number 42, replacing Justin Brown. And Jake Reynolds, the senior forward, has replaced Noah Earl. Third free throw is in and out. And just barely saving it. Good effort from Colin Jolly. Here come the Bobwhites the other way. Pigeon has it poked out on the ground. Off of Pigeon it goes. You like the urgency, but BFA can't afford to waste too many possessions. Trailing by 16.
Well, U32 is doing a good job of not giving up on the play even after BFA sort of beats them driving. There's a couple times where they've been able to knock the ball out of a BFA player's hands.
Kellington with a screen from McLean. Good defense on ball from Connor Leach. To the left side now to Conchesi, up top to Kellington. And this is Stoll inside, a floater with a defender in front of him, and a rebound to the Bobwhites. Connor Leach over to Jake Reynolds. Reynolds to Pigeon. Pigeon moved before he dribbled, and it's going to be another BFA turnover. .15 seconds in this third quarter. Kellington, bit of isolation. He drives in and cannot get it to finish. Good rebound. 3 seconds to go. Pigeon is going to drive in, flicks it up, and no good. So the third quarter, a disappointing one for the Bobwhites, who had kept it close. In fact, cut into the deficit a little bit. But incredible barrage of outside shooting for the Raiders, who now have a 16-point lead as we start the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it seems like every time BFA really might be able to make a run, U32 just has to go and hit 4 threes in a row.
Well,
It happens to the best of us.
It is interesting that, you talk about how BFA they were overcommitting defensively and allowing U32 some opportunities. Prior to, they had that run of three-pointers in the second quarter and the run of 4 3-pointers here in the third. But that's basically it from the outside shots. And it's not that they were missing a lot of others. They hadn't been taking many others.
Right.
And on the other end, BFA really haven't been trying the outside ball very much on their own right.
No, I mean, and I think they're going to have to take a few more three-pointers to try to make up a 16-point deficit here in the fourth. I mean, BFA, they just kept going back to, what had been getting them the best looks, which was just trying to get into the lane, trying to go right at U32's defense. The problem is that U32 figured that out, and they adjusted, and they put like 4 out of their 5 guys just into the lane waiting for BFA to drive. And so BFA hasn't been able to get a lot of open looks down there. And then in the meantime, U32 knows how BFA's defense is. Speaking of a defensive play, a good block by Jake Reynolds. They know how BFA is shifting, and so they've been able to catch BFA's help side defense overcommitting and getting those open three-pointers.
Good ball movement for the Bobwhites on their first possession of the fourth quarter. The three-pointer, no good from Colin Jolly as the Raiders come back the other way. Pigeon trying to poke the ball free. Kellington is sort of the poised hand out there for the visitors. Baseline, and they kick it back to Jacob Fair, that center. Kellington, baseline drive, and the baseline 3, no good. Jolly with the left hand, in and out. Dakota Rye is going to be called for the foul. On ball a little bit too closely, guarding Owen Kellington, the senior guard/forward, who is back at the line.
I think we're seeing lots of second unit guys now in the game for both teams.
Kellington connects on the first.
Kellington also with a solid stat line tonight. 14 points, 4 rebounds, and a steal and an assist.
And a forced substitution now as Connor Leach. This is a 2021 violation. It was a mask violation. He had been warned by the officials previously, and his mask was not being worn correctly. And I know that there are some at home who will be discouraged to hear that call, but at the same time, these players have to follow these protocols, or else this season, which is short enough already, will be shortened even more. A finger roll finish from Anthony Engelhardt of U32. Hard pass inside to Earl on the low block. Has 2 defenders on him, is able to draw a foul. Perhaps more importantly for BFA, stop the clock. That's just the second team foul. U32 have been playing a tremendously clean second half of basketball.
But 4th foul on Anthony Engelhardt.
First free throw, hit every part of the rim but the bottom, and it remains a 19-point deficit for BFA, with Earl, the standout sophomore, at the line. Good touch on the second. Tough defense there, and the loose ball is going to be grabbed by BFA, but a jump ball as Jacob McCoy of U32 was able to get his hand in there. Possession favoring BFA, however. Outside to Reynolds. Reynolds to the corner. Inside to Earl. And that was one of the best offensive sets we have seen from BFA tonight. 3 players moving in unison. A screen and then a pass inside.
Taking advantage of Aiden Hawkins overcommitting on that steal attempt.
And speaking of overcommitting, Colin Jolly got a bit too ambitious. And as he was having to play catch-up, got called for the foul. Elvin Stoll is at the line for Union 32. 1-1. A complete and perfect swish on the first. And on the second. Back to an 18-point lead for U32. Hard pass that, amazingly, Damian DiTilio was able to keep a hand on. So the possession continues. Earl almost loses it. Bobwhites trailing by 18 with 5 minutes and change to play. DiTilio doing some good step fakes and goes back up top. Driving in, and before he could get the shot off, Reynolds lost his footing, and he knew it. But as I've said now several times in this broadcast, there's not a good time for a turnover, and that in particular was a bad one. As U32 comes back and gets the lay-in, they're now up by 20. Hawkins with a steal and cannot get the finish. Earl with the left hand. It's a scrum, and Stoll comes up with it. He is fouled.
He took a beating down there on that rebound.
The foul called on Noah Earl. His first. The 9th team foul for BFA. Stoll, who swished to a moment ago, is back at the line for the Raiders. I'd say he's shown himself to be a pretty good free throw shooter, Bryce.
Absolutely. 3 for 3.
Make that 4 for 4. Showtime player of the game worthy?
For free throws, absolutely. Very specifically free throws.
Earl weaving his way around defenders. They go outside. Steps back for a 3. No good. And tipped out of bounds by the Raiders' low postman. Tilio inside. Up top, and a jumper, no good. The offensive board, at least for a moment, was corralled by Dakota Rye, but whistled for pushing off. And as it was a loose ball, not an offensive foul, it is going to be 2 more free throws for Elvin Stoll.
Keep the streak alive, Elvin.
Well, there you go.
No announcer's jinx for this guy.
5 in a row for him. Make that 6.
He's suddenly become one of the leading scorers for U32.
And in transition, a good bucket for Jake Reynolds. Team scoring in multiples of 11 this evening. Hawkins cross court, and they get it to Engelhard, who almost loses it, and in fact he does. Rye with the steal. Trying to work his way past a couple of defenders. He did an unexpected back flip to Earl. Unexpected by Earl, at least. who hopped twice and was thus called for the travel, rather.
Well, this is the point of the game where...
And on the other side is the exact same type of turnover for U32.
It's the point in the game where, BFA knows that they're not going to win this one, and so at this point you just kind of start working on things that you want to get better at. You can practice things all you want, but you never quite have the same intensity in practice as you do in a game, and so here's your opportunity. They're working on their full court press right now, and good things are happening from them. They've gotten a couple turnovers, but they also now have to not turn over the ball themselves.
This is becoming a pretty sloppy game. Often, in the last 3 minutes of a contest, when you say it's a sloppy game, you'd expect there to be a lot of careless fouls and aggressive plays like that. At this point, it's just turnovers. And for what it's worth, you talk about you can't practice the intensity of a game. These teams haven't had a lot of practice to begin with.
Well, they've had more practice than games, for sure, at this point.
Engelhard with another finish. Tried to get the dunk there. Got a little bit of rim, but either way, got the 2 points. Pigeon somehow able to get that shot off, and Reynolds keeping it alive, and a pass over to Colin Jolly. How about that effort from Reynolds, who knew that he was losing his footing, so instead of grabbing it, just did a little dink off to Jolly, who gets the three-pointer. And on the other side, a steal and a finish for Tyson Pigeon. 5 quick points for the Bobwhites. They still trail by a significant sum, but a good string of events for them.
Well, I mean, look, coming out of a game like this where you're down 19, you're looking for any kind of positive that you can take into the next practice and into the next game. And this full-court press is actually working really well for the Bobwhites here. They've forced, I think, 4 or 5 straight turnovers from Milton, and that time Pigeon gets the steal and takes it in himself. So, this in a game that has mostly been sloppy, for both teams, this is at least a positive that the Bobwhites can take and try to build on.
Speaking of future games for BFA, the boys basketball team will be playing at home again on the 4th of March, and I'll be on that call. Bryce, you're in action that same night just down the road at MVU. And for those of you who are religious followers of Northwest Access's coverage,
and there are many,
of Franklin County athletics, we've got a good week coming up for you. Tomorrow night at Highgate Arena, U32 is playing MVU in boys hockey. And also tomorrow night, right here in St. Albans, boys hockey, South Burlington is coming to take on the Bobwhites for what will surely be a good matchup.
And we here at Northwest Access TV, we are streaming all of these games for free because we know that fans can't be in attendance this year, and we want parents and family and friends to be able to see all of these games. But we are a nonprofit, and so if you would like to donate toward our coverage this year, there is a link on this Facebook feed, but it is also northwestaccess.tv/donate. And we appreciate any amount that you might consider, but are also just very happy that folks are still able to enjoy the winter sports season, even in this kind of strange form of this year.
As Hawkins missed another free throw, I should also point out, while I'm looking ahead at the schedule, on the 1st of March, as Kellington able to work his way around. How about that finish for Kellington?
Oh, man.
Great offensive rebound, and then a Dr. J-esque finish. To finish the point as Kellington gets a steal. And a finish on the other end. 4 quick points for him. On the 1st of March at MVU, Bryce, you and I will be back in action calling BFA versus MVU. And last weekend we had Enosburg at MVU. There's not a lot of inter-county matchups this season. And so we're thrilled and excited about the few opportunities that we can provide those rivalry matchups.
And then we were lucky enough, I think, to get 2 of the most fun inter-county matchups. MVU and Enosburg both good this year. And then BFA and MVU, a rivalry game we just always want to see.
Kellington tried to make it 3 buckets in a row. Unfortunately for him, called for the offensive foul. It's his third. And he's taken out likely for the evening. Bryce, with U32 up by 24 points, I think it's safe to say that it's going to be 2 trips to you.
Yep.
To BFA, where you will be giving a Showtime Player of the Game to a visiting player.
That's accurate. That is accurate.
But a couple of different names. Obviously, Hawkins has been the facilitator for U32.
Yep.
Kellington has been, again, a real poised player and had a lot of points for them as well. McLean has had a really all-around good game. Obviously, we don't need to make the decision now. We've still got 50 seconds or so. But certainly those 3 have got to be some of the big ones. Here's a big one for Riley Richards, a junior guard who checks in late in the game and able to connect a three-pointer. Good for him to have some productive minutes for the Raiders. And it will be another turnover for BFA.
I think, though, Owen Kellington is indeed the favorite for the Showtime Player of the Game. He has 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, and an assist. I mean, that's just an all-around solid game for U32. Engelhard also chipped in 12 points. Noah McLean with 7 points, 8 rebounds. Hawkins had 9 points as well. But for BFA, Noah Earl is their leading scorer with 10 points. And then Charlie Yates and Colin Jolly each had 7. Colin Jolly also with 4 rebounds. So he also had another, pretty solid game in a couple statistical categories.
Good save. And what should have been a turnover, Jaleel Boquist. And he was able to get the shot off as well. Double dribble for U32. And with 10 seconds to go, BFA will have a chance to get to 40 points. Interesting how similar this looks to that Milton matchup, in which the final score was 63-37. Here we are, 65-38. BFA looking for their final shot, perhaps not urgently enough.
Maybe
heave. No good.
So maybe BFA just needs to play all road games this year. Is how.
Well,
it's successful.
A lack of home court advantage when you don't have the student section that the Bobwhites normally have. But 65-38 is, in fact, our final score. Well played by the Raiders, who were able to overcome their long road trip, and they'll have an enjoyable drive back down to Montpelier after this one. Bryce, Kellington is our Showtime Player of the Game.
I would say Owen Kellington, absolutely. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, and an assist.
All righty. So, again, we want to thank all of you for tuning in and lending your support to Northwest Access. And if you are interested to make a donation, then the link to do so is linked right there in the comment section. For a final time, we would like to thank our sponsors for this evening's game: Northwestern Orthopedics, Collins Pearly Sports Complex, JC Image, Handy Toyota, Barrett Ford, and Clarity Realty with Keller Williams Vermont. If your business would like to become a sports sponsor, you can contact the staff at Northwest Access TV, 802-782-8676. Be sure to like and follow Northwest Access TV on Facebook so that you can find the links and coverage information for future live events. That's going to do it for us from Bellows Free Academy in St. Albans. For Bryce Batchelder, I'm Wesley Kempton. Our thanks to videographer Megan Buckley. And until next time, we bid you so long.